Love. Some would say it took a backseat when the pandemic forced us apart. As a family-run and proudly Canadian-owned company, Charm Diamond Centers saw the need to bring us together with tales of love and created the Canadian Love Map podcast. Since then, we've shared hundreds of real, uplifting stories that prove love conquers all. So thank you for listening. We couldn't do it without you. And remember, love starts here.
This is a true Canadian love story.
We were meant to be together.
I can't imagine my life without you.
Honestly, he's the light of my life.
It's nice to be in that tractor beam of love.
I'm her biggest fan.
I think I knew I'd lost my heart again.
I knew I wanted a marriage like that.
Difficult roads can lead to very beautiful destinations.
Well, love is the most important thing.
The biggest gift of all has been growing this connection with, trans individuals around the world now who are looking for respect and recognition and ways of connecting.
Hi, I'm Nancy Regan. Today's love story belongs to Dawn, her dad, and the tractor. That's the name of a Canadian film that's making waves internationally and maybe even changing the world. The story centers around a young trans woman who returns to a hometown that remembers her as a boy. Dawn is played by trans actor and activist Maya V. Henry. Her father, John Andrew, is played by Rob Wells, famous for his portrayal of Ricky in the phenomenally successful Trailer Park Boys franchise. Another TPB alumnus, Barb Leahy's Shelly Thompson, is the writer, director, and producer of this piece of art. Shelley, Maya, and Rob joined us for this conversation. Dawn, her dad, and the tractor is now streaming across Canada on Crave. This is the Canadian Love Map. Shelley, Maya, Rob, welcome to the Canadian Love Map.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
I knew right away when I saw this film that it was perfect for a Love Map episode. And I'm so thrilled that the three of you joined us today. Let's talk about how it fits into that category of love in action. Shelley, do you want to start?
Well, I was in love with Rob, and then I fell in love with Maya. And no, it's although that's not a joke, actually. As a pair of performers and working with them as a director, I did fall in love with both of them because they were such wonderful people to work with. But the story, where it came from, absolutely at root, was about love. Because my child transitioned. As a parent, all I wanted was for them to be safe and happy because I adore them. And through his journey, I came to understand how many trans youngsters and trans adults actually suffer for lack of love, lack of family love, lack of community love and respect, lack of their peer love. And actually, I think that's this particular area is a better place for Maya to talk about, but certainly that's where my journey began, is feeling like I wanted to mother them all and make them feel as safe as I wanted my son to feel.
Maya, can you take it from there?
Yeah, definitely. I think one version of love in this film that's so important is finding a home that loves you, kind of like what Shelley touched on. And sometimes that can be hard when you come from a small rural community and there's not as much education or resources for people to learn and understand about the queer experience. So I think that this film was really important in showing how much that support can impact a trans person's life, even just day to day, but also just, lifespan. Like, trans people have like a record low lifespan. And I think if we had more people supporting us and loving us and being there for us when we're going through hard things, then like any human being, we'd be able to get through it easier, and with patience and time and love. Love is the core value of what will create change and empathy in people. And I think this film really shows that.
I agree. I really strongly agree with that statement. And Rob, what about you? How has this film embodied love to you?
I just thought it was, a great experience overall. I thought the script was amazing, and working with Shelley and Maya was incredible. And, I just thought this family in small town, rural Nova Scotia, if this dairy farmer, is able to change his ways and his mind and his thoughts, that, it's an important message for everybody, I think. So, it does come right down to love. And anything we can do, to increase awareness and help out the trans community in any way, I think is very important these days.
Rob, I have to say, a lot of people see a huge difference between your character in this film and the character they know you best for on the Trailer Park Boys. And I think a lot of people would think that the two projects are very different, but I think they both have love in common. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Even Trailer Park Boys, when you strip all the drugs and the guns and everything away, it does come down to love. And I think that was very apparent in this film as well.
Yeah, it's really about friendship and family.
Yeah.
I think the human journey itself is such that a lot of us are desperate for a sense of connection and belonging. And we feel the deficit of that in our lives. We look around and we see how we don't belong often. And I can only imagine in a trans journey that is amplified because of societal judgments and fears and biases. So it takes a lot of courage to walk the path that you have walked. And I'm really thrilled to see that sort of illustrated in this film. How has it been close to your experience, Maya?
Yeah, definitely. I think growing up from a small community, I stuck out like a sore thumb. I grew up male, but I had much more feminine inclinations. So just on a base level, just something as simple as that made me stick out. I had my sexuality questioned from a young age. There was just all these identifications used to bring me down, and so being hyper aware of that made me feel like I didn't belong in society. And it kind of made me retreat inside myself. I was definitely a lot more introverted before I transitioned. And I didn't feel like I was able to form super deep connections with people on like a genuine level. I felt like there was always a huge part of myself that I was hiding away, And so being able to transition is just a way for me to express myself. You could put whatever label you want on me, but who I am is authentic and I'm just living my truth. It doesn't matter to me like what you perceive or what you call it, because I'm just living in my freedom now. And so I think that's something that Dawn reflects in the film as well. She's this strong anchor in the family. And sometimes she feels like she doesn't belong, but she's never going to change for the people around her at this point in the film. And I think that that's really important because it gives them a realization that, hey, this is who Dawn is now. And we have to be the ones to change and to understand and to learn. I hope that answers it.
It does, totally. Shelley, your film has been described as a love letter to your son's community. And I'd love to know more about how the screenplay came to be and then the process of actually bringing it to the screen.
This really is a good forum for it because it was a love letter. My son and I began our various major life changes around about the same time. One was much more profound than the other. As my son was transitioning, I was stepping away or trying to step away from being in front of a camera or on the stage to behind a camera and writing and directing. And it as his journey took over every element of our life, it seemed clear to me that I wanted to capture not his journey because, that gets done so much more efficiently and effectively by people like Maya. But what I wasn't seeing and what we weren't feeling and the places that I couldn't go for help, and I didn't know where that help was for me, were other parents of trans individuals. I had to figure out how to deal with my extreme grief. And I didn't know where and how to figure that out because, to be frank, what I was going through felt so minor compared to what I understood my child to have been going through all their life, all their life. So that was pretty major. So the beginning of writing that story began the love letter to my son and to all the people that I met through him or as a result of him, including Maya, who was connected to me via someone who knew, et cetera. And, these people, these individuals who are living a life that, we cisgendered individuals cannot imagine the guts it takes not to be transgender, because you don't choose that, but to embrace it and say, I'm going to go forward and I'm going to live who I am. And you guys have to, accept it, or, I have to accept whatever the world chucks at me. So that love letter began then, and it encompassed then the individuals that I met, and I've grown to have some wonderful, friends and collaborators in that community. And then it did definitely extended to the group of people, and Rob and Maya can speak to this as well. Rob's spoken quite eloquently about the people we were surrounded with on set. Like, we created an atmosphere of love and acceptance, and I didn't do that. I mean, it was a commitment by everybody who stepped on our set, I think. Wouldn't you agree, Rob?
It was amazing. Yeah, it was just it was a behind the scenes family, I guess, and everybody just got along. Everybody was treated equally, and it was just an incredible experience for everybody, in my opinion.
This podcast is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, Canada's largest family-owned jewelry store. They are proud to be putting love on the map, and the staff at Charm Diamond Centers are thrilled to be a part of your love story too. So visit charmdiamondcenters.com or one of your local stores. Love starts here. Rob, I'm curious, Shelley wrote the screenplay from the perspective of a parent who has been incredibly supportive, Shelley, I know, but also dealt with, you used the word grief, and she wove that complex character together in the father that you play, Rob. What did you learn about the experience of being the parent of someone who's changing their life dramatically in order to be living life authentically?
It was, I guess it just comes down to that, love conquers all. And as set as this dairy farmer was in his ways, he was able to change because of love. And like he says in the film, he doesn't wish ill on anybody. It was just, something he had to deal with and come to terms with. But in the end, he loved both of his daughters. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a great story, and thanks to Shelley for directing me as well as she did.
Yeah, Shelley, let's talk about the casting decisions. How did that come together?
Well, when I started writing it, I started it right from the get-go. Rob was in front of mine, partly because we'd worked on Trailer Park, and I remember we had a couple of days where I can't remember what the specifics of the scenes were, but Rob's character had to break down and cry, and he did it, and I thought, holy cow, it was real and it was complete in the character of Ricky, and it was felt, and he was in the context of a family. In the Trailer Park story is very much a family story. It's about people who are there for each other and support each other with all everything topsy-turvy, but they're always there. And so I saw that and I thought, I would just love to see this guy given an opportunity to step outside this particular world, but with the same emotional access that he has as an actor. And so I started thinking about Rob, and it's really lovely to be able to be creating something with a specific person in mind. I don't know that it necessarily helped Rob particularly, but it certainly helped me. And I didn't know Maya at that point. I was put in touch with her by a friend of a friend of a friend who was a filmmaker who directed her in a beautiful, beautiful short film, which if you can see, you should. It's called For Nona Anna. And it was recognized or won, I think, I can't remember, at Sundance. Maya, did it win at Sundance?
Yeah, it won a special jury prize.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful, beautiful film. And so I saw Maya and met her and, thought how much she could be Rob's grown-up daughter, similar face shape, same color eyes, it was, so I thought, yeah, I think this is going to work. And once you've got that core group of family that's solid, you're well on your way.
You make me think of the fact that I think that so many humans crave a sense of order. And that in some ways can be such a damaging thing in so many ways in our society, because anything we perceive as disorder, something, that is outside the neat little box that we expect it to be in, is disruptive to our sense of safety. And that's the only thing I can figure out when I look at how hatred is born in fear. But I know that a project like this, and it makes me emotional, a project like this tackles that in just the right way, because it's not meeting hate with hate or fear with fear. It's meeting fear with love. And I really want to, say thank you to all three of you for being part of a project that does that. I know that, Maya, I know you've had lots of negative commentary as you put yourself out on YouTube through your transition, and yet it's so outweighed by the positive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Shelley, that's the case for the feedback on this film as well. Would you say so?
Yeah, I think so. And I remember when I was just getting to know Maya and looking at her videos and stuff, I was amazed at actually the low number. I thought it was going to be worse. And I don't know, Maya, if it's got better or worse, but also we've been pleasantly surprised. We've only had a few real, nasty run-ins. But because I think basically humans they want the best things for their children and most of their neighbors, mostly. So I think people are genuinely trying to figure out where their own prejudices come from.
There is lots of love in this film, but you also see fear and hate represented. And that's such a part of the story. Where do you think the hate comes from in relation to the trans journey? What is that hate all about?
Yeah, I think it's a lack of understanding and education. It comes from, I think for trans women specifically, a place of misogyny and vilifying of feminization. So I think it stems from a lot of deep-rooted societal issues that we have yet to unpack that affect people even outside of the trans experience. I also think that if we are raising awareness like what we're doing now, we are allowing people at a younger age, kids, to be aware that we exist, that diversity is beautiful, that you can live a fulfilling life as a trans person. And it's not something that's a secret or it was such a negative thing when I was growing up. It was such a joke. And there's wonderful documentaries like Disclosure, which was on Netflix at one point, where they kind of talk about how the film industry has portrayed this image of trans people being a joke. So I think the trans experience is an amalgamation of all of these societal issues, and it kind of reaches this pinnacle and we become the scapegoat for a lot of other problems that are existing.
Shelley?
Yeah, I mean, Maya's been so eloquent, and my response is I really don't know. I don't understand it. I can't even express it. I so don't comprehend it. I wish I could, because it might give me more compassion for those individuals, and maybe compassion is the place to start in terms of that kind of ignorance. Because when I use the word ignorance, it's not. I don't mean it in a cruel way. I mean it in kind of the classical way, which is just to say these are people who have not been exposed to or haven't been given the opportunity. And I think what Maya says is so correct, is that this is about opening doors and making this accessible and not making it weird or peculiar. This has been in our society for thousands and thousands of years. And it's that recognition should be being taught.
So what I'd love to do is not hear any of the negative comments. What I'd love to hear is what's your favorite thing, Maya, that someone has given you in terms of feedback on how you're showing up in the world, or on this film, or both?
I would say just representing the experience in a non-sensational way, something that's real for people to hold on to, and especially in this film in smaller communities as well, just that connection with your family and showing the humanity behind the trans experience. We're not just glamorized people that are going through surgeries and all these physical things and this spectacle. We're human beings, and we just want to find our family and our people. We just want to, do what anyone would want to do in life. And I think that this film shows that. I think that hopefully my YouTube channel shows that, because a lot of my content isn't even about transgender stuff. It's just my life. I have so much more value to share. And so to me, being able to provide that experience for trans people and show them that you can transition and you can assimilate into life in a way that's authentic to you now is so important.
Do you hear often from young people who have been really profoundly moved by what you're doing?
Definitely. It always blows my mind, because to me, it just looks like numbers on a screen sometimes. You don't have an awareness of how many people have actually, if they filled a room, how many people that would be watching or participating in what you create. But I've had comments from people saying, I started watching your content like 4 years ago, and I wouldn't be where I am today without you. I transitioned and found access to the things I needed in order to be where I am today in my transition. So thank you for sharing your experience and for helping me through some difficult parts of my own journey. And so that's just so nice, because I know how important it is to know that someone else is going through the same hardships that you've been through. And so you have that solidarity and you're not alone, truly.
Rob, what is the most beautiful thing you've been told about this film?
I've just had a lot of people come up. Some people with, trans children, just saying thank you for the project and for being a part of it. And I don't know, it just makes me feel good to have been a part of it. It's such an important message. And I've said before, there's just so much unnecessary hate in this world. And anything we can do to try to change that I think we need to. And it's just, I don't understand any of this hate. It just makes me sick. So if I can change that in any way, then I hope this film changes some people's opinions for sure.
Yeah, that's why I say this film is love in action. I really believe that is true. Shelley, what have you heard that has really hit home for you?
Oh gosh, we have had, and I've shared them with the cast. We've had so many emails and letters and posts, mostly because we're on, Facebook and Instagram and all that. So many. I've started collecting them, and I, when on a day when I'm feeling like I'm not, doing what I want to do in terms of my own work or accomplishment, I just pull them out and read them, because we had a letter from a family in rural Nova Scotia, small town Nova Scotia. And it was a father wrote to me and said, my son has just come out to us as, or my child has just come out to us as a trans man, and I didn't understand, and I was upset, and my wife and I didn't know how to tell my mother, who lives with us, his grandmother, and we want to help him, we want to support him, but we didn't know what to do, and we decided to go to your film as a family, and we came home that night and we laughed and we cried for hours, and your film has made a difference to our family. And I got that letter, and I'm about to bawl now. To know that there's a group of people sitting around a table talking to each other who previously weren't. If we've done that, I feel like, we've won every friggin' award that we ever need to win.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's a mic drop moment when you get feedback like that.
Yeah, it really was. But there have been several. I've had some extraordinary notes. I had one from a woman in her 50s struggling, who's a trans woman, and she's living her truth and she's working and she's respected by her colleagues, but her parents haven't spoken to her for 40 years, and she's lost and alone, and she wants a mother to put their arms around her and say, you're okay, whatever you need in your life and whoever you need to be, I'm there for you. And nobody's done that for that individual. And that breaks my heart. So there are a lot of people out there like that. And we're hearing from them that the film is giving them hope. It's giving them bravery. It's giving them the making the decision for them to go and speak to their parents and see what happens. It's, so that's down so much to the honesty and love that my actors brought into their performances and the truth they gave each other when they were playing scenes. I mean, so I think, yeah, I'm super proud of that.
Well, I think that in wrapping up, I'd like to just ask you all how, in your mind, this project has been a gift to you in your life. And Rob, I'm going to start with you, if you don't mind.
I think it actually made me a better person. I met so many incredible individuals, cast and crew on the film, and it was definitely a life-changing moment in many ways, I guess. And just hearing some stories that, with this hatred that I just can't relate to or understand. And I don't know, it was just a very positive experience overall. And I thought the whole cast and crew were just all beautiful people. And I really, really enjoyed every minute of it.
Fabulous. Maya, what about you?
On a technical level, it was just such a gift to be able to be a part of such a beautiful story and work with so many amazing people like Rob, like Shelley, like Amy and Reed, and everyone else who was part of the cast and crew. It was such a family. And to be able to also explore Nova Scotia for the first time was also just such a beautiful gift. And then, yeah, the story as well, very cathartic for me, very parallel to my own life story. And so I felt like I got to relive some moments and just change the narrative a little bit. And so that's something that was so powerful for me to go through as well.
Shelley.
I've had so many gifts from this. I can hardly even, quantify, the exchanges with the cast, the opportunity to build belief in myself as a writer and a director, which has been tough. And suddenly to have people believing that what I had to say had value and could make a difference, those have been incredible gifts to me. But the biggest gift of all has been growing this connection with, trans individuals around the world now who are looking for respect and recognition and ways of connecting. And, that's been incredible for me.
Well, I think this film is going to continue to be an incredible tool for that connection. And I applaud you all for it. I know that you've been doing brilliantly well on the festival circuit, and now you're on Crave. So I expect that you're going to all be fighting people off for their autographs as you walk down the street. Good luck with that. Thank you all for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks very much.
Thanks so much for listening to the Canadian Love Map. If you love us, please subscribe and share. We'll be back next week with another love story to add to the map. This podcast is presented and made possible by Charm Diamond Centers. It's hosted by me, Nancy Regan, and is produced and distributed by Podstarter.
This
has been
a Podstarter
production.